First tonight on our news weekend, tourism arrivals are slowing, but the Deputy Prime Minister is predicting a strong fourth quarter. Despite the hopeful outlook, one issue still remains: room capacity. Hear what he has to say tonight. Plus, the Organization of Responsible Governance weighs in on the freedom of information and why its enactment is key to restoring public trust. The details straight ahead. And more than 100 Grand Bahamian students immerse themselves in the worlds of business and study during a 4-day STEM camp. Our News, the weekend edition, starts right now. This is Our News, the weekend edition. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Berthany McDermott, in for Megan Shepard. As tourism arrivals ease heading out of the summer months, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper says officials are relying on group and business travelers to level off numbers in the months ahead. Back in June, Cooper raised concerns about a possible slowdown in the tourism industry amid worries that the Trump administration's policies could push the United States into an economic recession. At the time, he said changing immigration policies, taxes, and tariffs were key factors. The grim forecast pushed the ministry to take a taste of the Bahamas to key markets like Florida and Canada. And it seems to have been beneficial, with Cooper saying one local hotel is still reporting high occupancy.
I spoke last night with one of the major resorts, and they are still running mid-70s in terms of occupancy levels. That's pretty strong. September is typically the slowest month of the year. We know that the group business is coming back, so we're holding our own, and we anticipate that with more groups and conventions and meetings type business, that will help to level out the fall off in vacation travelers during the month of September, when people are generally concerned about hurricanes and back to school.
Looking ahead, Cooper says the end of the year is shaping up to be a strong period for the tourism sector.
The fourth quarter is tracking strong based on advanced bookings, and we anticipate to end the year very close to what we did in 2024. But I remind Bahamian people that 2024 was a record year, 2023 was a record year, and we consistently are encouraging more rooms. We need more rooms, we need more investment. Some of those investments are now coming out of the pipeline.
Days after Education Minister Glenys Hanna-Martin said schools will be ready for the new school year, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says she's not taking her word for it. Earlier this week, Hanna-Martin confirmed school repairs are on track to be completed before the new academic year begins. This followed a tour last Friday by education officials and Prime Minister Philip Davis, who visited several campuses to check the status of repairs. Wilson telling us the union has yet to receive a list of schools scheduled for repairs.
I do not have a list of repairs or schools that are supposed to be repaired, which we should have had in hand. However, I don't go on the word of what the minister says. That's why we go to the schools ourselves. That's why we have our shop stewards check their checklists, and we examine with our own eyes. Because when they say it's finished, then weeks and weeks and months into the school year, you still have persons working on the campus.
However, she says the union has started its own process of assessing school repairs.
We also have an official tour that will happen with the Ministry of Education as per our collective bargaining agreement. So they must take us on a tour of the schools, and note that we have shop stewards, we have executive members and union representatives in all of the schools throughout the entire Bahamas. So we have a checklist that I send out every year, and they would use the checklist to look at the readiness of the school campuses.
Establishing a cannabis authority appears to be stalled more than a year after government passed legislation legalizing the drug for medicinal and religious use. Now the Attorney General says he hopes to see the authority up and running within the next 60 days. But the president of the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association says he hopes the extra time results in a strong framework once it finally comes on stream. Joshua Williams has the details in this report tonight.
More than a year after the cannabis bill was passed, the promised authority to regulate the industry still hasn't materialized. The legislation passed last July legalized the drug for medical and religious use. Government also promised that an authority would be in place earlier this year, with cabinet reviewing names for approval. But so far, nothing. Last month, speaking at the Corporate Administration Registry Services Business Seminar, Attorney General Ryan Pinder told me he'd like to see a fully functioning authority within 60 days. But Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association President Dr. Marvin Smith had this response to the AG's comments.
I'm surprised that the AG says he wants to see something happen because the AG is a part of the government. If they didn't want to make it happen, make it happen.
Now, the Attorney General says he understands the frustration on the timeliness of the matter, but Dr. Smith agrees, saying these things take time.
But you should not expect that you can wave a wand, pass a bill today, and tomorrow this would be doing. The infrastructure in that has to be put in.
Many, including former Marijuana Commissioner co-chairman Bishop Simeon Hall, have also voiced concerns about the delay. And while Dr. Smith says he understands the setbacks, he adds government has only one chance to get it right.
For our association and our members, we don't want a halfway system. We want that when this thing starts, it's open and transparent. It starts for everybody at the same time, and it's fully ready.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Thanks, Joshua. Well, the Organization for Responsible Governance once again calling for the full enactment and proper resourcing of the Freedom of Information Act. Executive Director Matt Aubrey says transparency is the key to restoring public trust and attracting the right kind of investment. Delvado Emmanuel has that story.
The Freedom of Information Act was passed back in 2017, but nearly a decade later, Bahamians are still waiting for the law to be fully enacted. The Organization for Responsible Governance says that delay not only raises red flags internationally, but also deepens mistrust at home. Leading the charge is ORG's Executive Director Matthew Aubrey, who argues that greater transparency is the first step. Government's allocation of $140,000 for FOIA has been long criticized. Prior to the 2025-2026 budget communication, ORG has been pushing for greater urgency, holding community meetings across multiple islands, encouraging residents to lobby their MPs, and pressing for more funding to support implementation.
The Organization for Responsible Governance has long advocated for freedom of information to be fully enacted and resourced. And you might be aware, but during the budget season, we really pushed a lot of information out. We went to over 5 different islands and talked to folks in the communities about what is freedom of information, and we heard back from them that there is a real interest in making sure that this law is fully enacted.
Aubrey points out that proper enactment would mean real access to government decisions, procurement contracts, and accountability mechanisms. Without it, he says the Bahamas risks discouraging reputable investors while giving green light to questionable ones.
And it had been noted that there needed to be probably about $1 million for public education, for the technology that would be required to make sure that government can implement the appropriate way, and that there could be training internal to government so that folks know how to resource and do this through the Freedom of Information Unit. It didn't come forward, but we are working very diligently to go back into the communities and talk to folks about their capacity to advocate for freedom of information.
However, in the end, the executive director says the FIOA is more than just catching the bad guys.
It's really about unleashing the social and the economic opportunities that come with it. We want citizens to trust in the system. We want them to play their role. We want them to comply with whatever laws or taxes they're supposed to as well. But it creates a balanced playing field between government and citizens.
Now, ORG says energy reform is a chance to rebuild public trust. However, Aubrey warns without long-term public consultation and transparency, progress may halt. Reporting for Our News, I'm Delvado Emmanuel.
Thanks, Delvado. 2 men and 1 juvenile boy are in police custody tonight in connection with an armed robbery Friday morning. Preliminary reports say the victim was sitting in his vehicle on Cowpen Road when he was approached by the trio in a silver Nissan Note, one of them armed with a firearm. The culprits pulled up in front of the victim's vehicle, exited, and robbed him of his white Nissan Juke and left the scene. Responding officers subsequently found the stolen car abandoned on Cowpen Road. A short time later, Mobile Division officers on routine patrol intercepted the suspect's vehicle on Sir Milo Butler Highway with the 3 suspects inside. The suspects, aged 23, 18, and 16, were taken into custody and are assisting the police with the investigation. This week, 41 4 nationals were returned home as part of the Department of Immigration's ongoing enforcement efforts. In a statement, the Department of Immigration said the group included 35 Haitian nationals, 1 Colombian, 1 Rwandan, and 3 Jamaican nationals. Additionally, 1 Cuban national was deported from New Providence to Havana, Cuba Friday on Bahamas Air. The department stressed that all security and health protocols were strictly observed, saying the safety and welfare of both officers and deportees remain their highest priority. Authorities also reiterated their commitment to upholding the laws of the Bahamas and encouraged the public to report any suspected immigration violations. When Our News Weekend comes back from the break, Giving Back, a local organization, makes a generous donation to 2 children battling cancer. Tonight, one of them shares their story. Plus, Grand Bahamian students get the opportunity of a lifetime at a STEM camp learning skills from financial literacy, self-esteem, and customer service. The details when Our News Weekend returns. A brave 12-year-old girl is one of 2 children battling cancer to get a $6,000 boost last weekend, thanks to the Just Cancer Support Group's annual tea brunch at Holy Cross Parish Hall. Our Danielle Miller has her inspiring story tonight.
The Just Cancer Support Group invited us to their annual tea brunch where we were given all of the pleasantries that come with an event like this and also a glimpse into the life of a brave 12-year-old girl, Miracle Martin, who was battling a rare form of cancer.
Martin began her speech by describing life before her diagnosis, one of an ambitious 12-year-old. She was a rising track athlete, participated in beauty pageants, danced in Junkanoo, and was doing well in school. Then, she nervously shared with the room the day she was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
But on Thursday, July 17th, something happened that I will never forget. That morning, I went to Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. I thought it would be the same routine they always give me. We had to run tests and draw blood, but this time it was much worse. Something I wouldn't wish on anyone. I sat there waiting for the lab results to come back. They arrived faster than I expected, and that's when I heard the word no one ever wants to hear: cancer.
Hearing the devastating news shattered her, and she spent the following days trying to understand what came next. Determined not to be a victim, but a conqueror, she found strength in faith and hope.
As I started to cry, I looked up and asked God why me? I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand how everything could change in one moment. But as the days slowly passed, I began to realize something. Cancer doesn't define me. It doesn't change who I am, and it doesn't take away everything I've worked for.
Martin hopes that her experience with such a rare form of cancer can become a source of inspiration and help for others.
My case of cancer is rare, so rare that the doctors haven't seen it before. Because of that, they're starting to do research, looking for similar cases. That way, in the future, maybe someone else won't have to go through all these scary tests and hospital visits. That makes me happy to know that my case could leave a mark in cancer history and help someone else one day. So yes, I have cancer, but I also have strength, faith, and so many dreams to ahead.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Danielle Miller.
Thanks, Danielle. More than 100 students on Grand Bahamas spent 4 days immersing themselves in business studies. Hosted at the Susan J. Wallace Community Center, the camp hosted the SEED program in partnership with the Prosper powered by Grand Bahama Port Authority, devised a unique curriculum of topics and guest speakers for the students. With topics focused on financial literacy, esteem, and customer service, to name a few, the goal was to curate the minds of the next generation of the processes from being a well-rounded employee to becoming a brilliant leader. The program's coordinator, Jacolia Braden, told the Our News team that registration was offered to all students on the island and that participants were promised a grand prize at the end of the program.
We would have gone into all of the schools around Grand Bahama. So this is actually our first bounty that we have $1,000 that we're going to give away for the entrepreneur of the week. And we have more of these to come.
Prosper's founder said that the decision to be a part of the program came from his personal experiences in both the local tertiary system and interactions in international markets. He noted that as he observed his peers who have successfully launched their careers and respective businesses, there was one commonality amongst them.
The biggest thing you hear all the time is most people started at a young age. A lot of those guys that I'm around currently that are in my age bracket started when they were 16, 17, that are now multimillionaires off of whatever it is that they've created in terms of businesses. And so for me, when I looked around, I realized that I didn't have that opportunity to learn the skills that I did, but because I had the support and I had the internet, I started very early on to be now creating and building new solutions that I want to use to not just make the Bahamas better, but the Caribbean better. And so for me, it was, we are lacking certain things in the high school system that don't necessarily prepare us for the world.
Still to come on Our News Weekend, expanding mission beyond the walls of the church. Life Changers Ministries International launches Operation Restoration, cleaning up a nearby community park. But first,
Bahamas Volleyball wins a huge matchup and Bahamar extends their racket offerings. We got all that coming up next on our Sports Weekend.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I say to myself, what a wonderful
Good evening, I'm Tage Adderley and we are back with our Sports Weekend. Team Bahamas faced defending champs Suriname in the Caribbean Volleyball Championship semifinals last night at the Kendall G.L. Isaacs Gymnasium. They made sure that Suriname will not repeat. Team 242 knew they would have a tough matchup on their hands as they took on a team that beat them in last year's Caribbean tournament and washed them 3-1 just a couple days ago in group play. It was looking like a repeat of their last two matches early after they fell in the first set 25-15. But they fought their way to a 25-21 win in the second set before Suriname took the third 25-23. They held on for dear life to tie the match when they took the fourth set 25-23. And powered by an energized home crowd, they took the decisive fifth set 15-9 on the strength of an 8-0 run to start the set. Now with that win, they're in the finals tonight against Curacao to determine who's the best team in the Caribbean. That game starts in just a couple minutes at 8 p.m. So if you want to see it, you can still get out there in your aqua gold and black and cheer on Team Bahamas. Now we're a couple miles away from KGLI at Bahamar, where they've expanded their sporting offerings.
The ethos of Bahama is based in the principle that we believe in the power of sports to unite, to inspire, and to create experiences that benefit both visitors and Bahamians alike. And with this new facility behind me, we are proud to contribute not only to our resort offerings, but also to the wider community.
That's Bahamar Senior VP Robert Sandy Sands speaking at the dedication of the resort's new paddleball court. In his remarks, Mr. Sands noted that the court was one of the resort's many offerings offered to Bahamians and tourists alike. Deron Donaldson, director of rackets at Bahamas, talked more about the resort's rackets facility where the court is located. He also spoke on some upcoming events that he's excited about.
Here at Bahamas, we have the Rackets Center here. I think it's one of its kind here in the Bahamas, where we have pickle, paddle, and tennis. And then we have a lot of tournaments that we're going to activate that will be open to the public to participate in. So if you love paddle, you love pickle, we'll have some tournaments going on in September and October. So stay tuned and we'll release those and everything will be online. So again, friendly access, easy to access, and you can book it sitting in your office. And I always tell people, I don't like to go to the gym, but I'll come out here and get a workout, learning a sport and playing a sport. So you can get your cardio in and learn a sport at the same time.
And if you've never played before, that's okay. They're offering clinics next month, so you can check out their website if you want to step your game up. The public is always welcome to their facilities. Before we go, we had a big game today. The Bahamas national basketball team just wrapped up against the USA in FIBA America. Be sure to check in with us tomorrow evening because we're going to talk about that one. Until then, I'm Tage Adderley, and this is Our Sports Weekend.
Thanks, Tage. Well, still to come on Our News Weekend, a local church steps up as good stewards of the environment with a major community cleanup. We'll tell you all about it when Our News returns.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I say to myself,
Welcome back to Our News Weekend. Well, clear skies outside the Our News studios and a heat advisory remains in effect. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie is back with your weekend forecast. Good evening, Ian.
Thanks, Berthany, and good evening, Bahamas. Welcome to your Saturday evening forecast. A blistering one on the outside. Intermittent clouds, temperature 86, feels like at 95. Your winds are from the south-southeast at 6 miles per hour. Temperatures across the country, Freeport at 82, 86 is in Marsh Harbor, Alistown, and in the capital, as well as Governor's Harbour, Eleuthera, 85 in Nicholstown, 87 in Great Harbor Key. Central Bahamas, we have 88s in Kemps Bay, 87 in Black Point, 86s in Georgetown, Deadman's Key, and in Arthurstown, Kidd Island, a pair of 85s in Port Nelson, Rum Key, and Coburn Towns in Salvador. Southeast Bahamas, 85s in Duncantown, Delectable Bay, Abrahams Bay, 86s in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, and Providenciales, Turks and Caicos, 87 in Matthewtown, Inagua. Satellite and radar composite at this time. Yes, folks, it is the end of August and we're starting to see those frontal systems come down. We have a stalled frontal boundary across the central Florida area that is producing some showers and thunderstorm activity across portions of the northwest and even central Bahamas. Some cloudiness around there with some sprinkles as well. Taking a look now at the tropics, where we are watching an area in West 90L which should form into the next tropical storm Fernand, possibly later into this evening, into tonight rather, and should pull just to the east of Bermuda, which should save them some harm. Behind that, we have Invest 99L, which shouldn't pose much of a problem to land. We have strong easterly trade winds expected across the lower Caribbean Sea, which should keep that system in check. Taking a look now at our boating forecast, where we expect winds to be from the south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots in the northwest Bahamas. Still have a caution out there and a risk of rip currents for you swimmers, seas 2 to 4, but up to 5 to 7 feet offshore, mainly along those Atlantic exposed coastlines. High tide at 8:55 p.m. tonight, low tide at 3:16 a.m. tomorrow morning. In the central and southeast Bahamas, again, a caution for you boaters and a risk of rip currents for you swimmers. Winds will be east to southeast, 10 to 15, gusting high at times, mainly in the southeast Bahamas, seas 3 to 5, but up to 7 feet offshore in those swells. In your extended forecast, pretty comfortable days in terms of less rainfall through midweek. Temperatures are still going to be hot, folks. Feels like still above 100-degree mark, so stay hydrated and remain from the outdoors during extended periods of work. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we have showers back into the forecast. Those temperatures still in the low 90s, with your lows, upper 70s, low 80s. That's a wrap in the evening forecast. Make it a great, safe, Fun night, everyone.
Thanks, Ian. Making a kingdom impact beyond the walls of the sanctuary. That was the proclamation made a few weeks ago by Life Changers Ministry Senior Pastor Apostle Valentino Williams at the end of their basketball camp. Today, the church is continuing this year-long mission with the Bacardi Road community through Operation Restoration, cleaning the Bacardi Road Community Park. Members of the church's congregation, along with volunteers, were on site Saturday morning, painting bus stop shelters, clearing debris, and repairing the park's fence. Apostle Williams told Our News that he believes the community does not consist only of the Member of Parliament and its residents, but also businesses and the church.
The reality is you build trust with presence. We're always out here, at least once per quarter. We're out here doing something. If you remember, just recently we had a basketball tournament, the church versus the community. And I'm not going to say who won that one, but nonetheless, it was an incredible time to connect with the community. And that's what the community is looking for. They're looking for someone who's hands-on, someone who they can feel, someone who they can touch. More importantly, someone who understands what their needs are. And this community is a loving community, it's a caring community, and I believe they deserve the best.
The event marked the final summer community impact project for the church. However, Apostle Williams noted that in the upcoming quarter, they plan to expand the project across constituency borders.
We've done initiatives on the park, we've done initiatives through the Bacardi Road area, but we want to go more west and perhaps even east to do a community walkabout and have prayer initiatives, perhaps give out grocery items, that kind of stuff. So we kind of switch it up. However the Lord leads us, that's what we do. But we're going to be at least once or twice, one or two more times before the year is out.
Well, thank you for joining us for Our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Berthany McDermott. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Make it a great evening, everyone.
Hey guys, Megan Shepherd here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Just click right over here. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so you stay up to date with content like this from the team you already trust.